What is up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in. This is the Matt Ramage Show presented by Quick Trip. We have ourselves a new defensive coordinator in Green Bay, and I got a great guest today to talk about that, let you know who he is, what kind of defense we can expect. But before we get into that, I want to give a shout out to Quick Trip, sponsoring the podcast. All right, they got the take-home meals. Make sure you check them out. You know, they got lots of different varieties. And they're at a discounted price right now. So if you're going to try to take home meals today, right now is the time to check them out. And they obviously got the hotspot situation too. So if you're hungry right now, you don't want to cook, check out the hotspot. But they got all types of good stuff. And, that beer cave, Yeah, I could live in that thing. But big shout out to Quick Trip. I appreciate the sponsor show. I remember when it was just a dream to have Quick Trip as a sponsor. And now I'm part of the Quick Trip team, you know what I mean? But let's bring in the guests over here. I screw this up every single time. Here we go. But we have Clayton over here from the Packernet podcast. What is up, Clayton? How you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good, Matt. It's always an honor to hop on here with you, buddy. When I got the invitation, I said, man, let's see if we can carve this out real quick. Cause it's like therapy coming on here with you, dude. We just laugh, and, the way Twitter goes sometimes, bro, I need a good laugh. You know what I mean? Because it gets rough out there in them Twitter streets.
Dude, it not even just Twitter, but like Facebook, like everywhere. Like you try to be positive, like, hey, I'm excited about this. Like that guy sucks. And then we'll talk about that. But you do a lot of podcasts around Packernet. Like, let everyone know what you do. I know a lot of people have seen you before, obviously, on this show and on yours. But let everyone know.
Yeah, so basically, it's real simple. Ryan Schlip, he has Packernet Podcast Network, the original Packernet podcast. It was my favorite podcast. I listened to it, yours, several other different Packers podcasts, and, came on board with him, just doing a little bit of extra podcasting on his network. And our podcast is actually called Packers Total Access. We started with that. Now we're doing 2 shows a day on average. We've got Good Morning Lambeau, and then we got Packers Total Access Live. Both shows are live on YouTube, and then you can get them in podcast form under Packernet Podcast, essentially. So that's what we're doing. And, just trying to save my marriage on a daily basis because I'm up here talking ball more than I'm hanging out with my wife. So there you go.
Yeah, they don't like that as much. I haven't made her a long time, so she's like, "Go ahead, talk about the Packers. Get out of here." You know what I mean? But we're gonna talk about this new defensive corner. That's why I want to bring you on because I like to bring on people smarter than myself. But before we get into that, I want to give a shout out to Nicolay Law. All right, also a sponsor for me, and you see the billboards everywhere. I got to meet him. Very Wisconsin dude's got a Wisconsin tattoo on his forearm, which I thought was awesome. So if you want a lawyer that you can trust, someone bangs up your car, you're fighting with the lawyers and whatnot, have a smart fellow that's also as Wisconsin as you. He's an awesome guy. And you need someone smart, but also someone you can talk to. You know what I mean? But all right, so let's get into this thing, Clayton. The Packers have themselves a new defensive coordinator. Everyone was like, when it happened, they were like, who is this guy? Myself included. Like, I didn't know who he was, but that's not saying much. I didn't know Matt LaFleur before he was here. Right. I mean, I did a little bit. I heard to a certain degree. I heard his name before, but I'm an idiot is what I'm trying to tell you. But so I want to break it down a little bit because I studied up a little bit, not as much as you probably, but I see what he's going to do. But like just like a basic to start this thing out. Who is the Packers' new defensive coordinator?
Yeah, so essentially it's Jeff Hafley, and I was just like you, Matt. I had no clue who he was. We had a list of about 5 top candidates that we were really excited about potentially getting the job. I think 3 of them got requested for interviews or at least requested to speak to them. And then, of course, out of left field, here comes Jeff Hafley, and it's like, who in the world is Jeff Hafley? So when you start diving into it, first of all, He's never been a play caller to the best of my knowledge. So he's never called a defense before. His specialty is secondary coach, right? He's kind of worked with secondaries in the past. And, anyone who kind of pretends like, hey, this is the type of DC he's going to be, everyone's free to do whatever they want. I think that they're kidding themselves thinking that any of us understand exactly what kind of defensive coordinator he's going to be. We don't know what kind of approach he's going to take, right? Because, you can look at his college tape from this year, although it's my understanding he didn't call the plays. And if someone in the chat knows that to be different, please let us know because I'm asking everyone on Twitter, like, does anyone know if he's ever called plays on defense? So if that's the case, we don't know what his play call style is going to be. But with him being the head coach of Boston College last year and for the last 3 years, I believe, you can kind of look at their defense and know, okay, he's a defensive-minded coach. I imagine their defensive scheme will be kind of in the mold of what he would want it to be, obviously, right? So I don't know what his play calling is going to be like. But as far as his history, he was with Boston College the last 3 years. He spent 1 year with Ohio State, and people think he was the defensive coordinator there. He was what they refer to as the co-defensive coordinator. And the Ohio State connections I have that I've been asking, they're saying he did not call plays there, so that's okay. Before that, he was with the San Francisco 49ers. I think it was from 2016 through 2018. So he coached under a couple of different coaches there, but Robert Saleh most recently, right? So Robert Saleh obviously got the head coaching job with the New York Jets. And I guess the best way to try to dive in and say, okay, what kind of defensive coordinator is he going to be? I imagine he would be more cut from the cloth of Robert Saleh than anyone else, seeing that was his most recent kind of understudy. Because, we all know that him coaching under Ryan Day at Ohio State, Ryan Day isn't a defensive-minded coach, right? He's more of an offensive-minded coach. So he probably didn't have had little impact on how he was going to call the defense in that regard. So that's kind of just a very broad sweeping way of saying, here's what we're kind of expecting. Now, as far as how he ranked at Boston College, I like to look at those numbers. I like to look and say, okay, how successful was he? He wasn't very successful at Boston College from a defensive standpoint. But at the same time, Boston College doesn't have like this top tier of talent. It's not like they're this powerhouse program, right? So what I did was I just went in and immediately, and actually on our show here in a little bit, we're going to be doing a Chalk Talk episode where we're breaking down the X's and O's, 14 plays from the game between Boston College and FSU, Florida State University last year, which Florida State was the number 3 team in the country. And the reason I chose that is because they almost upset Florida State University. And at the same time, it gives us a good idea of, okay, this is probably one of his best coaching jobs, even though they lost by like 3 points. That's definitely the number 3 team in the country. That's a tough match, right? So it'll give you kind of an idea of how he wanted to attack that team, and more specifically, a team that had a mobile quarterback, right, in Travis. So when I broke that down, if I were to kind of let you know, Matt, okay, here's what I seen on the tape of those 14 plays, which were the most impactful. He ran cover 1 man, eight of those 14 plays, cover 0 man 4 of those plays. He only ran cover 3 zone once, and he ran goal line zone once. So at least in that one game saturation, the biggest game of the season for them, it was mostly man coverage, right? Now, many people were saying he loves press man, which means they're going to play aggressive at the line. The people who hate Joe Barry, they want to hear that, obviously. They want something more aggressive, playing less off, that type of thing. In that one game, I just didn't see it that way. When you looked at how they played across the board, they brung 4 rushers 6 times of those 14 plays, 5 rushers 7 times, and 6 rushers only once. So they weren't very blitz heavy, right? They played a lot of cover 1 man, and they brung the most part 5 rushers. Okay. And that kind of matches up with what Green Bay and most defenses do for the most part. Robert Saleh in New York, which was, like I said, the most recent NFL coach that Jeff Hafley coached under, he just mostly brings a 4-man rush. I think he does that 80% of the time, and it's like one of the top 4-man rush percentages in the entire National Football League. So when I say we don't know what we're getting, we really don't know what we're getting.
Yeah.
Right, when he gets here. So I'm excited, though. I'm excited for a change. I just hope people don't create an unrealistic expectation on all of a sudden this defense is going to just completely change into something we haven't seen. I think you're setting yourself up for failure, because they're not going to come in and play press man 80% of the time. Like, it just doesn't work like that. And when you seen the man coverage that he ran in that game against Florida State, he ran mirror match press man, but only ran press man. Like, there was only like 3 defenders in that entire 14 play saturation, right, where they actually played press man. So this whole notion that he's just going to come in and just play a ton of press man, I don't see it, or at least not to the level that people think. So I don't know if that answers the question or not, but
I don't think that you can realistically play like press man, like all the time. Like, you're going to get beat. I do that in Madden all the time. Audible, boom, hit the down button.
Right.
I don't even know what button you got to hit to do it, but I'm always playing press man. And I'm always blitzing, so I'm always getting sacks or burned. So, but I don't think it's gonna be Madden. But one thing I saw Peter Bukowski on Locked On Packers. He had a Instagram clip that I saw where he was saying like one of the most interesting things is like when he was with the Niners and they fired everybody, but they kept him. So like that's saying that like an NFL team valued him. He was there. He stuck around. And then he ended up getting, I think, the head coaching job. So like he moved on after that. But like I think he is a respected guy. Like people act like he's like out of nowhere and it's like Matt LaFleur's buddy. First of all, I don't think he is. I think someone actually
I don't either,
came out. Yeah, someone actually I think came out with one of the media guys said that they were not buddies. Like he knows them through people, but he never coached with them. They weren't longtime buddies. Like first of all, the whole thing about buddies and like they don't want. People are like, I don't want him to hire his friends. Most of the coaches in the league, when they get a job, they go and hire their friends. Not their friends, but people they coached with. People who they respected. Like they were a secondary coach. They were the linebackers coach. They worked together. Like, hey, I respect that guy's mind. He knows what he's doing. And then they bring him onto their staff. That's kind of how the NFL works. So I don't think that that's even a bad thing, but I don't think that he was his buddy. But I just like that. Like a lot of the clips that I saw, I was watching on YouTube, some of the interviews he was doing and other players talking about. Richard Sherman had some good things to talk about him. Like he explains the game, like Richard Sherman was saying, very good. He explains the game plan. He explains to the defensive players very simply of what they want to do. I do like that he plays a little bit of press. I do like that he's aggressive. Like I said through this whole thing, I want an aggressive defensive coordinator. I don't want someone like playing off all the time. I don't expect him to play press and blitz every single play. Like it's not Madden. That's what I do. And I don't win. All right. I do all right, but I quit Madden. I'm done with it because I lost in the playoffs and I was like, I'm done with it. This game sucks. I blame the game, but it was me. First of all, I started to drink, and I started to get too aggressive.
Oh, that's the worst, man. That's the worst.
Like you get to the playoffs now you're like 9 in, and then all of a sudden you're like just slinging that thing. You're doing the Mike McCarthy thing. Just yeet that thing down the field.
On defense, it's engage 8 the whole time. Let's just blitz 8. Let's just blitz 8. We're good.
I do that. I blitz 8. It'd be like 5 wide receiver set. Like I'm not audibling. We're going for it. It's either going to be a sack or a 90-yard touchdown. But I am excited about it. I hear that he's like secondary friendly, like secondary, like your corners are. Yeah. He makes corners better, and Jair Alexander is already a beast. So hopefully, he's going to be happy at which I think will be. And like Matt LaFleur talked today. Did you see that press conference?
Which one?
With Matt LaFleur. He was talking about I saw the clips. I didn't watch the whole thing because I have a job. But from what I got about that, from a lot of people on Twitter, is that Jair Alexander absolutely is not going to get traded, first of all. And I never thought he was going to.
Oh, yeah, you're talking about Goody. Yeah, Goody.
Oh, yeah, Goody, not Matt LaFleur. Goody was talking today. Did you see that?
Down, they asked him. They said, did you ever give any thought to trading Jair? And before they could say Jair, before they could get it out of their mouth, he went, no.
Yeah, I never thought that was even a possibility. First of all, the cap situations, we don't have to get all that, but it would be murder for the cap situation. Yep. Only way that he would ever going to get traded is if he was like he wanted out. Like he was like, I'm done, get me out of here. And that's not the case. Like he's over here yelling at reporters, the pack is back. Like I think he loves Green Bay. He seems to. Yeah. Another thing people were talking about, Aaron Jones, they want to bring him back. They want to be back. They might have to work on the contract a little bit. And David Bakhtiari, according to other people's opinions, because I didn't watch it, is that David Bakhtiari maybe won't be back next year. Like I say, according to people's opinions, he didn't say it straight out. But did you watch it?
Yeah, I watched the entire press conference. And
so what did you think about what he had to say? And did you have anything to say about the defense and like how they think it's going to run?
I can't remember exactly what he said about the defense. I know he did say that, they're kind of exploring all options, essentially, is what he said. These GMs and coaches, they do a great job of spending a lot of time saying nothing, and that's a good thing. Like, you don't want to tip your hand on anything. You don't want to put any bulletin board material out there. You don't want to upset the locker room by saying, giving too much information. But I think what they've done is they went through and they found someone who is geared into coaching the secondary mainly, right? Many people don't realize that the secondary took a huge step back, not a huge step, but a step backwards last year as far as passing yards per game. It went up. It just wasn't a good look overall. Now, the thing that I noticed, we broke down every single game this year on our podcast. We do what we call Chalk Talk, what we're doing tonight. And we go through and watch every single snap 3 times. And we try to narrow it down to the top 10 plays, not top 10 highlights, but the 10 plays that had the biggest impact on the game. If it's a loss, typically 8 of those 10 are going to be negative plays. If it's a win, typically 7 to 8 of those plays are going to be positive, right? And when you really kind of dive into what's going on the field and actually, the plays that are called, the assignments that are getting blown, the biggest thing that stood out to me last year were there were just blown assignments everywhere and there was missed tackles. Now, immediately some people say, oh, well, you're just defending Joe Barry. No, that's Joe Barry's fault too, right? But to just try to chalk it up as the scheme is flawed, that's why I'm trying to kind of let people know, like, hey, you might want to, if we think we're just going to come out and play press man 80% of the time, like that. Let me give you an example, Matt. And just to kind of put things into perspective, the Dallas Cowboys ran the second most man coverage last year in the entire NFL. Okay. They ran man coverage 37% of the time. They still played zone 46% of the time. Okay. So when people hear, yeah, we're finally playing man, they immediately think, okay, we're only going to be playing zone, 20% of the time. It's not going to be it unless he comes in and completely flips the NFL on its ear. And I really think Matt LaFleur picked him because he's a good communicator. He specializes with defensive backs, right? That's kind of his bread and butter. And he's going to get someone in here to run the defense he wants him to run, right? You've seen him started to do that with Joe Barry towards the end of the year. The defense got better, too little, too late, right? But they still finished right around top 10 in scoring. Here's the problem, though. Like, what's it going to – and I'm being honest. What's it going to take for Packer fans to be happy? Like, we were in the top 10 in scoring defense most of the year, right? People forget the first half of the season. The defense kind of carried the load. Then Jordan Love just absolutely freaking exploded, right? And then all of a sudden the defense starts to trail off, right? So I think we finished somewhere around like 12th in scoring. Would it take us being a top 5 scoring defense? Because if we look up next year and we're hovering around 10 to 12 to 13 ranked, it's going to get loud again, man, right? So I put quite a bit of responsibility on the players because when I turned on the tape, I didn't find myself going, man, this is horrible coaching or scheming. I found myself going, why is that guy standing in space with no one within 8 yards of him? Like, he's got to know I'm not covering anybody right now, right? So if players aren't willing to adjust to a certain extent, I don't think things are just going to get drastically better. With that being said, you had to make a change because they stopped, stopped responding to Joe Barry, no doubt.
Yeah. So, like, you brought up Jordan Love. I think Goody kind of mentioned it today. Like, we're going to build around Jordan Love. Like I say, I didn't watch it, but I saw the clips and like all the graphics. Everyone's talking about it. You expect Jordan Love to get a deal over here this offseason? And what do you think? I think obviously he's going to, but what do you expect that to be?
True. We had the numbers pulled the other day, and I don't have them pulled up right now. I wish I'd known. I would have had it ready for you, Matt, but we looked at the fair market value. I could look it up real quick as you're talking here in a second just to get you the exact number. But I think what Goody said at the presser, matter of fact, I'll try to do it right now. What Goody said, let's see how I multitask here. This is probably
can you multitask? Because Jordan Love deserves the money. I saw a lot of people on Facebook talking, a lot of people in my comments saying, don't break the bank. But this is Jordan Love's first real contract. He's going to want to get paid, and he's got an agent, and his agent is not going to be like, well, he likes Green Bay and everyone's happy. And a lot of other people are saying, well, let's let him play out the year. Like, you don't let your quarterback play out his last year. You don't want a quarterback playing on that last year. You want, first of all, make him happy. He's earned it. Like, he sat, he did the right thing. The same thing Aaron Rodgers did behind Brett Favre. He shut up. You're the backup quarterback. Don't talk. Right. Just do your job. Get better. Prepare. Jordan Love did that. He was the whatever you want to call it, the good employee. He didn't cause a ruckus. He practiced. He got better. And everyone knew he was better in that locker room. Outside that locker room, people didn't really realize it. But Jordan Love is an absolute boss, and he deserves the money. So what do you think you're going to get? I rambled long enough for you to get that.
You did great, man. I should have given you a thumbs up and said you're good now. So first of all, Goody was asked today, and he made it pretty clear, like, yeah, we're going to take the next couple of months and begin those conversations. And Goody, people skills 101, just painted the perfect picture. He's like, yeah, they're really his team, essentially, his agency that's working with Jordan is like, they're really good people to work with. We're excited about sitting down with them and talking about getting a new contract, that type of thing. Perfect, played perfect by Goody, right? So if you go to Spotrac, and Spotrac, they absolutely nail these things. I followed it the last 2 years, and when they put a calculated market value, Matt, it is unbelievable how close they get it. This is a big number, but this is what they have as the calculated market value.
Hit us.
They have average annual salary. So this is essentially kind of your averaged out salary cap hit, $44.8 million per year. All right. So they have market value set at 4 years, $179.4 million, with the average salary coming out, like I said, to 44.8 million. Now, how did they come up with that? What they did was they took players of similar age and similar kind of results, I guess you could say. So they took Justin Herbert, right? They took his contract. He was 25 years old when he signed the contract, right? Very similar. I think Jordan actually might be 25 himself. They took Baker Mayfield, who just signed a 1 year, $4 million deal. He's 27 years old. They took Josh Allen, who signed a 6 year, $258 million deal. He's 25 years old, or when he signed, he was 25. And then they took Sam Darnold, 1 year, $4.5 million. They averaged all that out. They kind of added in somewhat of an inflation, what have you, right? The base calculated value. They compared how they averaged amongst, or how he compared to those specific players statistically. And what they came up with was a median prime percentage of 8.2% and an average prime percentage change of 11.3%. So what that comes out to is 4 years, $179.4 million, averaging $44.8 million. Now, here's the key. How long is that contract going to be? And if Goody feels confident and knows, all right, Jordan is the guy, what I want to see happen is something kind of like what they did with Patrick Mahomes. The longer you make that contract, what you have now is structure in place to where you can now have maneuverability within the cap. And what that means is, it may average out to a $44.4 million cap hit. You notice most of these quarterbacks are never that against the cap. You can now start to move that money forward and backwards, when it comes to that contract. Like if you wanted to absorb a big cap hit this year, you can shift it up. And what they do is they take base salary and they take roster bonus, they convert it to signing bonus, and then you can spread that money out over the duration of the contract once it's kind of set in place. Now, the key date is obviously May. By NFL rule, by league rule, to the best of my understanding, they cannot sign him to an extension before May. So I think it's going to come to mid to late May or later that you'll hear of a deal getting done, if indeed they do come to an agreement. Now, Goody played this perfect because he's still under contract for 1 year. If they wanted to play hardball, right, and I don't think they will. I think Jordan wants to be here. I think that the fact that they traded Aaron Rodgers after a 3 year, $150 million contract, and they said, you know what, we're ready to move forward. That's what gave me the most hope and love. It's like Goody wouldn't be willing to do that if he didn't think Jordan was the guy, right? So I think that they put a lot of trust in Jordan. I think Jordan appreciates that. It's not to say he's going to leave one single cent on the table, nor should he. But I think that it's going to put him in really good standing. You want to avoid that franchise tag. But what I was going to say is he's under contract through 2025, and you've got 2 years you can franchise tag him. Now, we know the Packers like to stay away from the franchise tag. I don't think that's in the game plan. But if you looked at it, the Packers really have all the leverage in this negotiation. So if Goody plays it properly, I can see Jordan kind of giving, I don't want to say a team-friendly deal, but him being a little quicker to say, yeah, let's go ahead and ink that. But that's what Spotrac is showing, though, man. They're showing, like I said, 4 years, $44.8 million. Goody, I don't know if he's ever done a contract for more than 5 years, or even 5 years, really. So maybe I'm just kind of dreaming, hoping they do a long deal. But if they did, the longer the better as far as being able to maneuver that cap a bit. So, I think man. I mean, it's just what he did last year, Matt. God, bro.
Ridiculous.
I was blown away because I was halfway through the season. People on my pod were going, we need to see what Sean Clifford's got. We need, and you know what? I'm not going to BS you. I wasn't sitting there going, guys, Jordan's the guy. Jordan's the guy. I was going, he's struggling. but we need to see him for a full season. And bro, he came out in that second half. You talk about mental toughness, and he was just like, "Get on my back, let's go. Watch this."
Because I'm obviously like the most optimistic fan ever, and there was a point where I was like, "What's going on, bro?" Like I was all in on Jordan Love, and like I was all in about seeing the whole season, not like quitting, because obviously there was that streak, where the defense wasn't playing good, Jordan Love wasn't playing good, nobody was really doing a lot, and there was a lot of injuries, but still he wasn't really showing that flair. They had a few here and there, but I still always thought, like, just let him play out the season, like let him see something's gonna happen, and then it did happen. But even the most optimistic fan as I am, I didn't expect for him to do what he did. But he's absolutely deserves to get paid. He should get paid, and you shouldn't even ask a player, especially a young player, on his first really big deal.
Right.
Like this is going to change his whole family's future, his grandkids. Like, so I wouldn't ask him to take less. But like you say, that the Packers are in a situation, so maybe they can get him out a little bit on the cheaper, not crazy,
right.
Team friendly, but maybe just a little bit friendly. But yeah, Jordan Love is the future. So like, I mean, like people are saying, because like I've been pumping up Jordan Love, right? Especially after this season, after he got hot. People are like, you don't want to blow up his head. Like, dude, he's not watching my Facebook page.
Right.
He's not. He's. I don't think this outside noise is going to affect him. Matt LaFleur said, right after the season, he's like, next year this is not going to be the youngest team in the league, and even if they are, that's not going to be an excuse. This team is dialed in to win. Winning is the expectation. Jordan Love playing great is the expectation. I'm not saying that everyone expects him to play, every season the greatest quarterback in the league type numbers. We don't need that. Like we with a team, if they build it right, shouldn't need all these fancy numbers. Get a quarterback that can win. I don't care about numbers. It's about winning, and winning is a whole team. It's a defense. It's running back. It's the wide receivers. These wide receivers are young, dude. I'm absolutely in love with this wide receiver group. But let me ask you this about Aaron Jones going into this season, talking about contracts. I think people were saying on Twitter, like maybe that contract gets reworked. They want Aaron Jones back. Do you think that Aaron Jones is going to be back? I think he's going to be. I think that he's a heartbeat. Like, I think Matt LaFleur actually, or Goody might have said this. Someone said it, that Aaron Jones is absolutely the heartbeat of this team. Like, you've seen that video. I posted a video on Instagram. It has like 60,000 likes. That's not normal for mine. I post a video of me talking. It gets like 400 likes, maybe. Whatever. It gets a few likes. The Aaron Jones pumping up after a fumble. Young player grabbing him, saying, keep your head up. Aaron Jones is a true leader. Everyone said it before the season start. Aaron Jones is going to be the leader of this offense with a young, first-year starting Jordan Love, first year, a lot of rookies, a lot of second-year players. Aaron Jones is very important for this team. What do you think that looks like going forward for Aaron Jones?
Yeah, I mean, Goody made it really, really clear today. Aaron Jones, he even said he's the heartbeat of this team. It's funny because, not that we're talking about Bach. I love Bach personally. I want to see Bach back for the right price, not that $39 million cap hit. It's just not going to happen. And I don't think anybody's kidding themselves to thinking it will. But when he mentioned Bach, he was like, yeah, we got to see where he's at in the process.
He was like, we'll see what happens. Because that's like my wife, when she's like, hey, you need to clean the basement. I'm like, yeah, we'll see what happens. You know what I mean? You never know.
When he mentioned Aaron Jones, bro, it was like, he's the heartbeat of this team. That's the plan. You've seen how everything changed when he finally got healthy, when he was out there. It's a whole different dynamic on offense, that type of thing. So he's going to be back. Now, last year he took a pay cut, but many people, it kind of went over their head. Yes, he took a pay cut, but they guaranteed him some money too. So essentially what you're looking at this year, his cap hit is $17.5 million, right? He's not going to play on $17.5 million. It's not going to happen. So when they did that last year, yes, he took a technical pay cut, but they also converted some of the base salary, some of the roster bonus to signing bonus, right? So what they said was, look, here's going to be your cap hit number if you do want to stay in Green Bay. And like Aaron Jones pointed out, he said, everybody's talking about, I took a pay cut. I still made more money this year than I ever have in my career, right? So it wasn't like they said, "Hey, you ain't worth this. We're going to pay you, pennies," right?
Yeah.
And he still made a decent amount. Like his cap hit last year was only 7.8 million, but what they did was they tacked on 3 voidable years for 2025, 2026, and 2027. So when they converted that over to signing bonus, they then took that signing bonus and spread it out over the duration of those voidable years. So he's on the cap for 2025 at 2.4. He's on 2026 at 2.4. He's on 2027 at 1.6. But in 2024, this year, his cap hit is 17.5. I say that because the skeleton of that contract is already in place. So what he's got is 11.1 million in base salary. Okay. So he's already got a restructure bonus, that type of thing and everything, right? You've got your signing bonus of 3.2 million. You've got that 11.1. They can go to him, ask for another pay cut, convert some of that base salary to signing bonus, and then spread it out over the duration of those voidable years. They could also just convert it and slap it on the cap this year too. Everybody looks at the cap. Not everybody, I shouldn't say that. Some people look at the cap and they go, well, we ain't got no cap space. There's upwards of $85 million in maximum restructure that the Packers can do. Now you're saying, what are you talking about restructure? The very thing I just said, converting base salary and roster bonus into signing bonus. Why do the players do that? Because you write them a check right then and there. A roster bonus means you made the roster week 1. Okay. So they can cut you at any point and you miss out on that roster bonus. Once they convert it to signing bonus, that money's in your pocket. Right. Yeah. So that's why they're willing to do that. So when I say there's 85 million in maximum restructure, they're not going to use 85 million maximum restructure. The number I came up with when I broke the contracts down as far as simple restructure, realistic restructure would be 50.9 million that they could free up in restructures. Do I think they'll do that? Absolutely not. Could I see 20 million? Yeah. So when you look at the players that are kind of primed for those restructures, the first one is David Bakhtiari. If he wants to continue to play for Green Bay and take a pay cut, there'll be a major restructure there. I think that it's realistic to say they could free up 10 million in cap space there. Okay. Now, if he wants to play hardball, they cut him outright. They free up 20 million right off the bat, whether they trade him, whatever. And there's a little June 1st clause and stuff that comes into play. I try not to get too lost in that. You can kind of cross that bridge when you get there. Second is Kenny Clark. You've got really roughly 8.1 million you could free up really easily with Kenny. Same thing, Jair Alexander. Everybody's talking, not everybody. People were talking about trading Jair Alexander, right? That's off the table. But you could do a simple restructure for about 7 million. Aaron Jones, simple restructure, right? 5.6 million is what I came up with. And what I did was took the number and cut it in half. So I'm being very conservative here. Rashawn Gary, same thing, just signed his new contract. A little bit of restructure, 4.1 you can free up. Elton Jenkins, 4.5 you can free up. Devondre Campbell, 5 million if you decide to keep him. Now, if you cut him outright, what's going to happen with Devondre Campbell is essentially you're only going to free up 2.5 million. So I'm not on that team cut Campbell. That's not me. I like Devondre Campbell, but I also don't think he's going to play for the exact cap that he's on right now. So I just say that because they've got a lot of room to work with. Now, people ask, when will this happen? When do you see this taking place? Last year, Aaron Jones's contract happened. I think it was February 17th, if I remember correctly, somewhere around there, if I remember. Don't quote me on that. I didn't have it wrote down in my notes, but we talked about it on the pod the other night. But if you go Google Aaron Jones's contract restructure from last year, or just put Aaron Jones takes pay cut, whatever that date is, it's around that time you should see them making decisions on David Bakhtiari, Kenny Clark, Aaron Jones, people like that. And I totally expect Aaron to similar ballpark as last year. There'll be a pay cut. There'll also be some guaranteed money written out in check form for him, put it right in his pocket. I expect Aaron Jones back, no doubt about it, man. No doubt.
There we go, baby.
Yeah.
There we go. I know that you only have a few minutes left because you have your own show, and I want to make sure give everyone a shout so that they can go watch your show. But so do you think, like a quick answer? Do you think David Bakhtiari is a Packer next season?
I think it's the ball's going to really be in his court. But if you really listen to what Goody said, one thing I like about Goody, he may dance around the question a bit, but he's honest. He's as honest as they come with the GM. Like you can tell. Sometimes it's what people don't say that says the most, right? And everything he pointed back to was the injury. Like, hey, he's going through this whole injury thing. He's got to get back first. I think there's a realistic chance that Bach looks up here. You know, I know he's planning on playing from what I've heard. You know, we were having beers the other night. I'm just joking. I don't talk to Bach. I'm just talking about comments he's made in the past. It sounds like he's trying to make that comeback. But it's going to come down to, you know, can he be 100% or even 90%, right? So if he's healthy and he's willing to take a pay cut up to the tune of like maybe $8 million and get that number down to like $32 million on as far as a cap hit, to where you're actually, he could still be one of, if not the highest paid left tackles in the game. He still helps the club out. I'm not very fond of spending other people's money or just pretending like it's not a big deal for someone else to take a pay cut. I think he's earned that money. And I know I'm probably in the minority because Packer fans see Bach and they go, man, he hasn't played a significant snap in 2 years. Yeah, but, you know, he pretty much put his livelihood on the line. He completely trashed his knee.
Yeah, his knee
is football, right? So, like, I don't hold that over someone. I really don't. And you could see it bother him. He tried so hard to continue to come back, and it kept swelling. Tried again, kept swelling. He's had, like, I don't know how many knee surgeries now. So if Bach decides to retire, thank you for your service. If Bach takes a pay cut and comes back, I'm excited about it. Plug him in at left tackle. You got Rashid being your swing tackle. That's a good place to be, right? But also, if he says no, I want every dime I'm due, bro. I think he deserves it. And
yeah,
you try to.
I never ask a player. Yeah, I would never ask a player to, like, you know, take less. Because if my job comes to me and say, "Hey, take $1 less," get out of here. I'm not taking anything less. I think it'll be interesting, like what happens with Bakhtiari. I love David Bakhtiari.
He's awesome. I love him.
You know, beyond the chugging beers, I know that. Yeah. I know the chugging beers that doesn't help on the field, but dang it, I respect it. You know what I mean?
Love it.
But I know that you have to get going. You're going to be live over here on Packernet YouTube. Is that right? And Facebook?
It'd be Packers Total Access, or Packer Fan Total Access is the official name now. You can just, if you search Packers Total Access on YouTube, you'll see our channel. That's where we're at. Yeah, you guys hop over there if you want. But if Matt's still live, hop into ours late, man. Hang out in here with him. I don't know. He's liable to get me off the air here and try to fix everything I just screwed up. So I know how that.
No, I'm gonna wrap this thing up because my plan tonight was to have someone smart come on, talk about this thing, but I will have a lot of live streams. No, I'm gonna have a lot of live streams this off season. We got this new thing. I got this little standing desk. It's almost like a bar. We're gonna do some fun stuff this off season. I'll have you come on again, and everyone be sure to check out the Packers Total Access over there on YouTube. Let's wrap this thing up. Big thanks to Clayton jumping on this thing and kind of like educating me a little bit on our new defensive coordinator. I'm pumped up, bro. You pumped up?
I'm fired up.
Are you pumped up?
Can't wait.
Let me throw this hat on real quick. You know what I mean? Let's go. Let's go, baby.
I love it.
Go Pack, go. We are on this thing. I appreciate y'all listening. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube, Facebook, and if you're listening on the podcast, do all that. And also check out the podcast, themattimage.com. You'll find all the links. It fell off. That was embarrassing. I should be ashamed. If my mom's watching, she's like, what's going on here? What are we doing?